necessarily those of WPSL. However, we do encourage you to like and share them on Facebook and other social media. It's time for the Science of Caring, Careology, hosted by your friends at CareBox, Roxy. Here she is.
Hi, Cliff. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. It is Tuesday, and it feels like I was just here with you yesterday, and I hope everybody's having a great week. My name is Roxy. Welcome again to Careology, where we care and support our community. We are the Science of Caring. This show is proudly sponsored by Treasure Coast Lexus, and my co-host this evening is Assistant Chief Richard Del Toro. Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
Ma'am? Oh, wow. Okay, I love that.
Got to keep it professional.
Okay,
yeah.
You're gonna lose that in 2 minutes. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. We are so glad to have you. We are about caring for our community. Careology is a subsidiary of CareBag Incorporated, a nonprofit that we support those in our community with proper hygiene. Remember, proper hygiene is a right, not a privilege, and everyone is entitled to it. It doesn't matter who you are. And we want to make sure that we keep everyone safe, we keep everyone with all the hygiene that they need. And many of you know I always talk about our mobile shower units, excuse me. And our second mobile shower unit, one of the sponsors to that unit is right here with me. He is the president or CEO? President of Treasure Coast Hope for the Homeless Foundation. And we just want to say thank you so much to you and your partners, and with Leonard Travis and Philip Bush. They came together, and we have another beautiful unit, and that unit will be permanently in Fort Pierce starting hopefully by next month. We're just doing a few logistics, and our homeless and families in need can come on a specific day in Fort Pierce, and they can have showers on a consistent basis, which we found out is the best thing to do instead of having it all over the place. So we're really excited about that. And I'll let you, we're not going to tell the story about how we met, which was a good story, but we're going to keep it, as you say, professional. How I met the chief, and the chief introduced me to Assistant Chief Richard Del Toro, and from that it has just been a beautiful relationship, beautiful family, beautiful soul. And tell us about your foundation. I want everyone to know about your foundation.
Well, the Treasure Coast Hope for the Homeless Foundation was actually informally started in 2011 by my daughters, Karina and Alexandria, and their two best friends, Kaylee and Mallory Cunningham.
I know them. They are beautiful young ladies.
They're great young ladies. And their sister, Ivy, has also joined the fund.
I saw
and
that.
They had this idea that, they saw somebody in need one day on the side of the street. And, they were little at the time, maybe 6 years old. All of them, and they basically said, how are they going to get a job if they don't look good? And so they started, basically doing a clothing drive and for the homeless, and we teamed up with Graceway Village at first, because Graceway Village has a great place called Hope's Closet on site.
Closet on Hartman Road, yes.
That is like a boutique for people in need to go in there and shop for free, but it's like a store, and just gives them that sense of dignity. And pride. And so we've been partners with them for years, and when I got into this position as assistant chief, I had prayed about it. It came to fruition, and one of the things that I had, made a promise to God to do was get that incorporated one day. And I had gotten on some boards because of my position with Boys and Girls Club and some different organizations, learned a lot about the nonprofit world. And after a while, it was just time. And my brother is an attorney, and he did the paperwork for us, and within 22 days, we got our nonprofit status. And we've been off to the races ever since, and raising a lot of money. We don't have a paid staff. Our kids are out in the community doing public speaking. They attend our board meetings. They learn a lot about strategic planning, the business side of it. But more importantly, we put every dollar we make back out into the community. And like you were talking about with CareBag, and for those that don't know CareBag, when I met Roxy, she was doing just that, making care bags for people in need that are, living out in homeless camps and different sites. And she was out in the fields actually doing the work, and just had a heart to serve people. And she came up with an idea to basically purchase her first shower truck and bring a mobile shower unit to the people in need to, again, give them that dignity and respect that they deserve. Not everybody's as blessed as we all are. And,
That's true.
that she presented us an opportunity to partner with Southern Eagle Distributing, the Bush Family Foundation, and also Travis Leonard and A&G Concrete Pools. And I believe close to $30,000 donated for that truck to purchase. And so, we raise a lot of money every year, but goes back out. We don't want to be a standalone nonprofit.
Yeah.
We want to be that force multiplier. There's 2,500 nonprofits on the Treasure Coast. Everyone's fighting over the same dollars.
Yes, we are.
But everybody is also committed to the same mission, which is to serve people, and that's what we're all about, and we're just proud to partner with you, and we're going to continue to do so. So we love you and we're proud of you.
All right, I got you live and recorded.
That's
so
right.
I'll hold you to that. I know you guys do wonderful work, and your daughters and the Cunninghams, their children, they come out to so many events we do. They help us, and to see what I was really taken aback by was just how young they were, and I was just. If you have this heart and you have this mentality to give back to the community at such a young and tender age, just imagine what you're going to do when you blow up.
Absolutely.
When you get older, you're just going to blow up.
Sure.
And we need that in this community. And we're honored to have them. And I'm excited about that. But you got, other than that, nothing else is going on?
Just a couple things, but
things.
we're keeping busy. Yeah,
Okay.
We're doing good.
Well, I know we're going to talk about, because you and I have the same guy. We both have Doug. And Doug is awesome. And he is putting on the St. Lucie Safety Festival on April the 24th, and CareBag will be there. We talked about it last week, but I have more information. I got in hold of Doug, and he sent me the information I needed. It's going to be it's the St. Lucie Safety Fest. It was postponed for 2020 because of the pandemic, like everything was. Our lives on hold. But we'll be back April the 24th, and it is going to be at the Clover Park, which is the Met Stadium, right? And you can look online. You can get any information on that. It just shows what our first responders, we get a little bit of what everybody does and how hard they work to get this done. And we have some awesome sponsors that have sponsored this. I see a couple of my guys on here, the Bush family and, Treasure Coast Toyota of Stewart, and the Bush Foundation, and the Treasure Coast the Treasure Coast Hope for the Home. I keep forgetting the Hope for the Homeless Foundation. These are just a few of the sponsors that we have come out. It's great to see what our first responders have to do. They give a lot of demonstrations, and we will be out there with our mobile shower unit, so you can see what I'm talking about. It's supposed to be a wonderful day, so come on out, and we're going to have information on our Facebook page, and I know that we're going to have a lot more information. April the 24th, mark your calendars, is from 9 a.m., and it closes at 2. Admission and parking is free. Should I say that again?
Go ahead, one more time.
Okay. April 24th, Clover Park on Saturday, 9 a.m., and we close at 2. Admission and parking is free. COVID precautions will be in place, and updates, and as the date approaches, more information will be out. So I hope the community can come in out as a whole and support who we have that protects us. Because I've had to call the ambulance before and the fire department before, and they were spectacular.
It's a great event. We've been a part of it for several years. Doug Farrell with DLF Media puts it together. And it's all things safety. So you're going to see the Port St. Lucie Police Department out there, live demonstrations from our K-9 unit, SWAT team. We'll have our traffic unit out there, our driving simulator. The St. Lucie County Sheriff's Office is always out there every year. Sheriff Ken Mascara with the bomb unit, his SWAT team, the helicopters, the St. Lucie County Fire District with Chief Nate Sparrow will be out there. Everything you could think about safety, not just law enforcement and first responders, everything safety.
Everything we need in our community to make us safe. And it's so funny. You and I talked, and I totally forgot about this until I got to the car because I kept it in the seat. And when I was looking at this just now, it actually is going into what we're going to talk about.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing. So, I just want to give an update on a little bit of what CareBag has been doing. Just as you have food insecurities, there's hygiene insecurities. And if a family can't afford a gallon of milk or chicken or eggs, how are they going to supply their family with Depends, female products, deodorant, lotion? We are in a pandemic. Health issues, healthy cleanliness is so, so important. And the government assistance that individuals get, they cannot obtain these items. So CareBag is proud to know that we can supply these items to individuals. We were open today at our store, and one of our mothers that had her little boy came in, and it's so nice when they bring the babies in. You get to see them, and they're healthy, and they're just so happy that they can just get the items they need to look after them. So we are so happy for our elderly that we can supply the Depends that they need, and for our homeless, they can get new underwear and just really start to be productive adults in our society. So we're happy about that. And anyone that would like to contribute to CareBag, get a hold of us. Go to our website, which is givecarebag.com, and you can see what we do. Check out our website. And if it's on your heart, you would like to support us, please do, because your support makes it possible for us to go ahead and take back to our community and give to our community. And that's very, very important. And again, Richard, thank you, your family, your foundation. They have been such a blessing to us, and we really, really appreciate that. So a lot has been going on in our community and through our nation, and it has brought a lot of conversations up. And first of all, 23 years on the police force for Port St. Lucie, 7 years or 8? 9.
This is my 9th year.
9 years as assistant police chief. Kudos to you.
Thank you
very much. I have a clappy, but it's in my bag. I don't want to see people see me go in my bag. What is one thing that you love about working with the Port St. Lucie Police, other than Chief John Boldick, my father from another mother and father?
Yeah,
that's our little thing there.
Our chief is absolutely
awesome.
Amazing.
He's
probably
a great man.
One of the most humble people you'll ever meet in your life. He's the type of person that you'd never know he was chief of police when he's out of uniform. Do anything for you, just salt of the earth, and that just translates down through the entire organization, because that as the chief, he sets the tone for the entire organization. And he's a giver. He is out there serving the community. He's very involved on his time off, supporting other nonprofits like yourself.
Yes, he has.
But the biggest thing that I enjoy, obviously, I work with great people. We work with a great team there. It's not just a one-person show, top to bottom. We have really first-class individuals there. But really, it's just been a blessing, to serve this community for 23 years. I was so fortunate. I was actually turned down by Port St. Lucie PD when I was first through the hiring process.
Look at that.
Yeah,
look at
so
that.
that's a story.
Oh. Well, we have less than an hour show.
I know,
so
we can't do the whole thing. But I've never taken for granted the fact that I did get hired there.
Right.
And I just believe, you have to earn the public's trust each and every day. It's not something that you're entitled just because, these are rented titles, being a police officer. I'm not going to be a police officer or assistant chief my entire life. There's a start date and an end date. And what I do in between there is just so important. And I just believe earning that the public's trust each and every day. And I'm not perfect. I make mistakes, and I've made mistakes over my career, but I try to learn from them. I try to own my mistakes and just move on and move forward and focus on continuous improvements. But this community has been absolutely amazing to serve. They're very supportive of the police department. I think it's a reflection of the service we provide each and every day. We're really focused on superior customer service. We take a business-like approach, and anytime someone's paying for a service, I think it establishes a business relationship. And we try to provide people with the highest level of service. And if we don't do that and we fall short, we try to correct the problem. But it's just been a blessing and an absolute honor in my life to do this and hold this position.
Well, thank you for your service. So I was always told, which I do know, but I have to ask you, Port St. Lucie Police Department or the Treasure Coast or St. Lucie County, we are known for what? That the police take very pride in. We have very little crime. So well, let's talk before 2020.
Yeah, so well, even with 2020.
Yeah, even with 2020.
We're still doing well.
Okay, do tell.
We are the safest large city in Florida with a population over 100,000.
Okay.
We have the lowest crime rate in the state of Florida.
All right.
We have had that for the last 9 years.
See, I'm gonna have to go into the back.
Yeah, you got to get the clapper out for that one. And that's kudos to the officers for the job they do each and every day. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But having a low crime rate does a lot of different things. It really helps business development, makes people want to come here. When people move to Port St. Lucie or any community, the first thing they ask is, it a safe community?
Yeah,
right?
That's what I did when I moved here. Two things: how's the crime? How do they feel about pit bulls?
Exactly.
That was my those were my two questions. And when I heard what the ratio was, I was like, wow.
Yeah, we're very proud of it.
Yeah,
we're
of course.
Very proud of that.
That's when someone says, "Oh, you live in Port St. Lucie," I'm like, "Listen, we got less crime than you do."
Yeah.
And they're serious about it.
Mm-hmm.
I know we have a little speeding problem right now, and we have a lot of cones up and police with the radar guns. I won't say over certain corners. When I see them, I'm like, woo. Unfortunately, I have a heavy foot. But I do respect them because they're doing their job, and safety is important. But what kind of crime are you seeing coming? Because we're going to talk about just locally before we get into the meats and potatoes. What kind of crime are you seeing happening since 2020 has really happened?
So the biggest thing that we deal with in Port St. Lucie was originally established in 1961 and was primarily a residential type of a community, bedroom type of retirement community, but it's changed over time. We're seeing that big tidal wave come up from Miami, Palm Beach, everybody moving up here because the cost of living was much cheaper up here. So we're a much younger community than we were when we were first established. But we've always dealt with a lot of property crimes, such as burglaries. To vehicles, houses, but I am happy to say our burglaries in the last 8 years have gone from 1,200 to only 600 during that time. So we're very proud of that.
More people have cameras.
More people have cameras, which helps.
More people have guns. That was our show last week, gun safety with Richard Stein. You know him.
I know Richard very well.
He loves you very much.
Yeah, Richard's a great guy. Great first name, by the way.
Yeah,
Richard
very.
Stein, so,
yeah, my brother will agree with that also. My baby brother will agree with that.
But we see a lot of because we do have a lot of families here. There's domestic violence is obviously exists here.
Right.
But the biggest uptick I've seen in the last couple years has been mental health issues.
Oh, yes.
And although that's not a crime, it's something that we respond to quite often. And that is a need in our society that needs to be addressed.
Oh, yes.
And I'll give you an interesting statistic real quick on that. Back in 1960, there were 150 million people in the country, and there were 600,000 long-term beds for people with mental health issues. Fast forward to today, we're over 300 million in population, but only 60,000 long-term beds.
I know.
So what's happened is we've really criminalized mental health in this country, and unfortunately our largest providers for mental health treatment are prisons and county jails. So that's something I think that needs to be addressed long-term. We have officers that are being trained in what's called crisis intervention training. We're on our way to getting the department fully certified in that. It's a 40-hour class that everybody has to go through.
Oh, that's great.
I would like to see that one day part of officers' academy training. That way when they come out, they're already there. But we have 120 some odd officers out of 262 officers that are certified in CIT, and we're continuing to push forward with that and get everybody certified in that to help with that issue.
I know I sit on another board, and that's the main focus that we deal with is mental health through all of Southeast Florida, Southeast Florida Behavioral Health Services. And through our meetings, I get some really inside. Sean Boyle is our chair.
Correct.
And the numbers and the information I get is wow, because I see that. I see the domestic abuse when the mothers come. They try to hide it. You just see the mental illness. Everyone is home. People, and we've been talking about that from our first show. Individuals are home. When you leave your home, you have a little respite from the family nagging, the husband, the wife, the children, the dog. But now everyone is home. So it's just a combustible situation. And people are afraid of mental illness. And that's something we wanted to let people know. Everyone suffers through it, but we suffer through it on different levels. Me, loneliness, because we're outgoing people. So we had to lock down. I got into planting. I couldn't keep a cactus, and now I grow these beautiful plants. I don't know how I do it, but it works, and I love it, and it's a good thing. So we try to we had 211 on to let people know to call. So I love that. But you touched on something that we're going to talk about now, but we're going to take a break, and I have one question that I want to ask you, and we're going to open our phone lines. Everyone right now in our nation is talking about we need to defund the police. What would that mean if we defunded the police? And we're going to have Assistant Richard Del Toro of Port St. Lucie Police Department answer a few questions for us, and we'll be right back. If you could reimagine the way you buy a car, what would you do? Make it simple, make negotiations disappear, demand transparency, then experience amazing at your Treasure Coast Lexus dealer. Car buying simplified. Treasure Coast Lexus is a proud sponsor of Careology. Every Tuesday at 6:05 p.m., caring and supporting for our community. Car buying simplified. Check out your Treasure Coast Lexus dealer.
WPTV's First Alert Weather on WPSL is brought to you by Seacoast Air Conditioning. Family owned and operated on the Treasure Coast since 1982. Online at seacoastair.com. Now, with a look at our forecast, here's Chief Meteorologist Steve Weigel.
More great weather on the way for the Treasure Coast. Low rain chances, lots of sunshine. Overnight lows will be in the low 60s, partly cloudy. And beach weather continues Wednesday and Thursday. Highs getting into the mid-80s and a little more humidity on the way, especially in the afternoon. I'm WPTV First Alert Chief Meteorologist Steve Weigel for WPSL 1590, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
At Seacoast Air Conditioning, they believe in 3 basic fundamentals. Answer the phone, show up on time, and fix the problem right the first time. Seacoast Air, family owned and operated since 1982, waiting to answer your call 24/7.
Comfort crisis, don't roast, call Seacoast.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
And now, back to Careology, the science of caring. And once again, here's your host, Roxy.
Welcome back, everyone. And those that have just tuned in, my name is Roxy with Careology, the science of caring. And our guest tonight is Assistant Chief Richard Del Toro of the Port St. Lucie Police Department with the lowest crime rate in
The state of Florida.
the state of Florida. And I know our crime rate is lower than a lot of other places. So well done for that. And kudos for us living here, because I love Port St. Lucie. So the question we left with was, in the nation, you know, the conversation is this. Just defund the police. But the question is, what does it really mean? As we struggled over these last the year, let's call it basically the year, with everything that we've been through, with the fatal arrest of George Floyd, it sparked, you know, an unprecedented just reaction nationwide and responses, you know, with the peaceful protests, violent clashes involving cops, involving looting, you know, the demands of different activists from around the country, defund the police. I thank God on one thing, we didn't have that here.
No, we did not.
We did not have that here. But I've done everyone knows Roxy does her research, but I want it from the lips of an assistant chief of a police department with 23 years under his belt. What does defunding the police mean? Because people have different.
Yeah, so that started in a lot of the larger cities, and mainly they wanted to take funding away from the police department and shift it towards other issues, like we talked about, mental health.
Right.
And because policing's kind of evolved from just crime and disorder into getting into a lot of social issues. We become, you know, you call, we haul 911, we go out and solve any problem, and we become family counselors, psychologists, and quite honestly, we're not really equipped to deal with some of those issues or trained. And I'm going to touch base on the training in a minute. So, you know, we didn't see that locally here, although we did have some very peaceful protests and good conversations with our community partners.
Yes.
And we're big believers in Port St. Lucie that, you know, you can't wait for a crisis to happen to build a relationship.
You have to do it before.
We have always community policing, and that's a philosophy that working together with the public, that's how you overcome obstacles, because 262 officers can't solve problems for 200,000 residents. We have to work together with our residents. So we've been great community partners with a lot of different nonprofit groups, schools, different civic organizations, and that has really bought us a lot of credibility, if that's the right term.
No, that's correct.
And people are willing to have that conversation with us, trust us, give us the benefit of the doubt when an issue does happen. And we had demonstrations right in front of City Hall that, we participated in to make sure that they were safe, listened to the conversation, had some sit downs, and it went very well. I mean, if you want respect as a law enforcement officer, you have to give people respect as well.
I believe that. Yes. So we're gonna do good cop, bad cop, and I'm gonna be the bad cop.
Oh,
Cliff. So as an African American woman, which is some might not sound it from my voice, but I am. I was concerned, and let me tell you where I was concerned at. I have brothers. It didn't happen here, but I think because it happened on a whole as a country, we're just going to have it in the conversation, because to not have it does it injustice. And I know you'd agree with me. So I was concerned, Cliff, very much concerned. I have nephews, son, brothers, husband, friends, and like all of us in this room, we got to be scared. We feared going out. We feared, and a lot of my friends from up north called me, I'm going out. Well, Roxy, aren't you scared? I'm like, you know what? I was able to say in a cool manner and an honest manner, I feel safe in my community. And a lot of my friends couldn't say that they felt safe in their community. So a lot of states say body cameras don't change anything. Training doesn't change anything. First question, does Port St. Lucie have body cameras?
We currently do not, but our city council made the decision, I believe, during this last summer retreat, or winter retreat that they just had, to make that a priority and funding for our October budget coming up. So Port St. Lucie will be moving towards our body cameras.
That's great.
Yeah, that is becoming the standard in
law enforcement now. Okay,
Correct.
So I know we talked about training. Someone said to me that strangers armed. They said, Roxy, it's like strangers armed with a gun. You get pulled over and you see the strapping guy, and I said strapping is because of all the body armor they have on. I said, walking towards your vehicle, with everything happening, you start wondering what's going to happen. So a conversation I had with someone, I said, and I tell my husband this, and I tell everyone I know, I said, I keep my insurance, and this was me and a Caucasian friend having a conversation. I said, so when the police stop you, what do you do? They said, I rustle through my bag. And while they're talking, I'm laughing. And they said, what do you do? I said, I don't rustle for anything. I said, I'm African-American woman. I said, my insurance and my registration is above my visor. I said, it's not because of the community I live in. It's because of what's happening in my nation that I felt that I needed to be more visible with how I do things. And I believe that, me and you have taught privately, and I believe that training is so important. Sensitivity training is important, because that is something that I see younger cops every day. And when I look at some of them, I'm like, I'm driving, I'm like, if they pulled me over, do they know how to talk to me?
Yeah. So talk about training real quick.
Yes.
I just want to touch base on that, because I think this is an important fact people really don't understand. So when I went to the Law Enforcement Academy up here at IRSC, it was and it still is, an 800-hour program. It's 20 weeks, 40 hours a week. You graduate, you go to a police department, and if your police department's a semi-professional progressive agency, you're going to have what's called a field training program.
Okay.
Field training program is another 16 weeks. You ride with an officer who's trained to teach you how to do the job, fill out reports, how you respond to calls for service, things like that. So, you're talking 40 weeks of training at best, 36 weeks of training, and then you're out on your own making life or death decisions. You're a solo unit out there there are supervisors working, but they can't be everywhere. We have 120 square miles to cover, 200,000 residents. We have shift supervisors that respond to certain types of calls. But think about something for a minute. A law enforcement officer who makes life or death decisions, they can take your liberty, or they possibly could take your life in a certain situation. They have less training than someone who is a barber. A barber has to go through a year's worth of school to cut your hair.
Yeah.
And when you get out of your training, you get 40 hours of additional training over the next 4 years to keep your certificate. So one of the things we need to do as a profession is, number one, recognize that we need more training. But that comes at a cost.
At a cost.
You know, training is expensive because when you take somebody off of, say, road patrol, you have to fill their position and different things like that. So that is something that has to change, okay, more training. The biggest thing I heard concern-wise from parents wasn't so much they were concerned about being pulled over, especially our minority community. They were concerned about their kids being pulled over. One of the things I'm very happy to talk about is the Port St. Lucie Police Department was the only agency in the state of Florida to receive a national grant to conduct and create a driver education program for teenagers that teach them how to interact with cops during a traffic stop. You know, when you're 16 years old and you get your license for the first time,
You just go.
it's stressful enough just learning how to do that. So when you get pulled over, now the stakes get even higher and your anxiety is up. So what we're teaching the kids is what to expect during a traffic stop. What's the officer going to ask you? What should you do when you pull over? What is it all about? And I think that's going to have a huge impact on our kids.
It is.
And we named it after Officer Steve Brown, who is a school resource officer, a very beloved officer within the Treasure Coast High School community, who passed away, unfortunately, on duty from a heart attack. So we named it in his honor. And we are in the process right now of creating that curriculum and then rolling it out to all the high school students in the near future, probably in the beginning of next school year.
Okay.
So that's going to be something I think is going to help us bridge the gap there and really, educate our community. And, one of the things, too, I think kids fear about law enforcement officers is when I walk through stores or I walk in a restaurant, I've run across the situation where a parent says, well, you better be good or he's going to arrest you. Yeah. And I think that's really
the worst
thing to say.
Yeah.
Because we want to be there for our kids. If they're having a problem, if they're having an issue, we want them to come to us.
And see, it's different. It was different from me growing up.
Correct.
So Brooklyn, New York, I was told by my parents, police are your friends. If you have a problem, look for a police.
Correct.
Run to a police. That's how I grew up. And but times have changed dramatically. And you talked about driving, and I want to touch on that. In the beginning, when we learned how to drive, we didn't have cell phones.
Correct.
So our both hands were on the wheel, our eyes were on the road. Now you have one hand on the wheel, one hand on the phone, and that is troubling. So not only do you need to teach safety for children driving, you have to teach them to stay off your phone.
Yeah, distracted driving is never a good idea. I'm a pretty good multitasker, but I don't text and drive. I notice when I text you, and if you're driving, I get the automatic response, sorry, I'm driving, I don't text.
And I add to it, everyone. When I see him coming up, I was like, and I'm trying to behave with the law, and I'm at a red light. I put all of that in the text for everyone that knows. But it's a big distraction. So if I get a text and it comes up on my car, and I'm looking at it, my eyes shift. Even though I am I call myself a professional expert driver, that little distraction sometimes, you gotta get that car. So I see kids driving, and I'm like, oh, I cringe. And I'm like, they have so much more to learn. And but congratulations to Port St. Lucie for that. I love that. I think teaching children, young people how to interact with police and the training and giving more training, it's a hard job, because when you get that 911 call, you don't know. So let me ask this now, going back to our first question we had. If we were supposed to defund Port St. Lucie Police Department, would we have that? That probably would be something we would lose.
Yeah, again, we haven't had that call to action here, and our community is very supportive of the police department. Anytime you cut funding from a program, there's a reduction of service. Our citizens and residents expect a very high level of service from the Port St. Lucie Police Department.
I do.
Yeah, and we want to be able to provide that service. We went through a very bad economic downturn back in 2008. Remember when the housing market, we're funded off of property taxes, by the way, the police department.
Okay.
So, or the majority of our funding comes from that.
You're welcome.
We don't make any, by the way, I can say that too. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
We don't we do not get funding from traffic tickets. We don't have quotas, things like that.
Right.
You know, a lot of people think that we're out there writing tickets so we can make money. That's not
I
the case.
I put my hand is raised for those who can't see me, because I always see them at the end of, especially the troopers at the end of the month, and this is me. Oh, they haven't reached their quota. That's why they're out.
No.
See, so we debunked. That was one of my questions that I had for you. What is the common myth about police department that you could debunk? So you just debunked that
we
for us.
don't have quotas.
So
we do have an expectation for our officers, though, to enforce traffic laws, because traffic is the number one complaint from our residents. We do a lot of community engagement through surveys online, and traffic, aggressive driving, speeding, and because we have residential neighborhoods.
Right.
People are worried about their kids, and so speeding is the number one complaint. So we encourage our officers to enforce traffic. We went from around 28,000 citations and warnings the previous year to about 40,000 last year. So we've ramped up our enforcement and education. They're not all citations. We do warnings, but the officer has that discretion based on the type of violation and things like that to issue a warning or citation. But to get back to the funding issue, we were 262 officers when we had 160,000 residents here. We're now over 200,000 residents, and we've just got back to that 262 mark.
Wow.
So we are doing more with less. We're still as effective, and we're as efficient as we can. But I don't see defunding really being an issue here in Port St. Lucie. I do think we need the governments do need to fund other programs and find ways to do that, because there are other needs, the opioid crisis, mental illness.
Oh my goodness.
There are a lot of things out there. So we got to find ways to do that and be creative. But I think, police officers cost a lot of money, benefit packages, things like that, insurance, salaries. We have to do more with less. The days of us just writing checks, not just in Port St. Lucie, but, nationwide, and saying, well, we can cover, the tax dollars only go so far. And people don't want to see they want more services, but they want their taxes as low as possible, myself included. Okay, so I'm not,
Here.
Yeah, so we got to find a way to do that. And that's our job as leaders, to deliver that high level of service at the lowest possible cost. So.
That is true, but you mentioned something, and I know it's dear to your heart. So I want to give you a moment that you can talk about it, because I work with Linda Bartz, our Commissioner Linda Bartz, and the opioid crisis is near and dear to her heart. We have in our county, a lot of people just don't know the amount of deaths, especially with young people, and I know that's something that pokes at you. So. The mic is yours.
I've lost a family member to drugs. Not so much the opioid crisis, but other types of drugs. So it is near and dear to my heart. I am the law enforcement chairman for the Treasure Coast Opioid Task Force, for the subcommittee for law enforcement. And our job is really to analyze a lot of the data, how many overdoses we're having, how many deaths, unfortunately, that we're having. We're working with other organizations, because this isn't just a police problem.
Right.
The police and fire department show up to an overdose. At that point there, we try to hand it off to a social worker, a mental health person, drug counselor, to try to get people the help that they need to avoid an overdose.
Correct.
There were over 55,000 deaths nationwide last year to the opioid crisis. If that's not an epidemic, I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So, we have to do better with that, and we are doing better. We're coming up with ways. We've analyzed the data the last couple of years, and now we are working as a group, as a task force, to come up with a plan where we can all work together, whose job is it to do what, and then come up with a comprehensive plan, even if it's to start like a pilot program where we're focusing on repeat victims of overdoses. Because, just trying to roll the hardest thing, or the biggest mistake I think people make all the time, is they try to rush to implement something. Like after the George Floyd incident, the big rush was, let's defund the police.
Right.
We really just should have taken a step back and look at what is really the problem here, and how can we fix it? Instead of, I don't want to see a knee-jerk reaction to something, because I think that's what leads to a lot of issues. A lot of the cities that have defunded the police have seen a rise in crime. Residents aren't happy.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm glad you said that, because that's what I was going to let you know. Baltimore, these are a couple of the states that went ahead and defunded the police and turned money to other institutions. So Baltimore eliminated roughly $22 million from their police budget, and their crime rate has soared out of beyond belief. Oregon cut a 16 million. Philadelphia reduced it by 33 million. And when you go and you look, since they've done that, their crime rate is up. The services that they wanted to help are good, but we have those services. I'll hear a lot of people say, there's mental illness, there's children need daycare. We have, let's go with the YMCA, let's do Boys and Girls Club St. Lucie County, Boys and Girls Club Martin County. We have 211. We have so many places.
There's 2,500 nonprofits, correct?
There's so many nonprofits that offer these services. And this is where the community comes in now. If you support those nonprofits within our community, when they need that help, the police can still do their job, but yet we can still go ahead because they're doing good work. That is why I wanted to do this show. It's not about, yes, a little bit it's about CareBag, but there's so many nonprofits that we have had on here to do a good job, to show you what they're doing. And it is New Horizons was our first guest, Richard. And the information I learned was just astonishing. And that's available free. So New Horizons deals with mental health. 211 has the responders that answer the phone that have the training, have more than the training that police officers get. So there's information out there, there's resources out there, and we're trying to let our community know what we have. So it is now 6:46, and I am going, I hardly do this, so this is Cliff, this is a new one. I'm giving you the floor.
You're going to give me the floor?
I'm going to give you the floor because being the assistant chief of our community, if anyone wants to call in and ask, I have someone asked a question on our Facebook page about training, which we covered. So we desperately needed new policies. That's what they say.
So let's talk about policies real quick. So the Port St. Lucie Police Department is nationally accredited and also accredited through the state of Florida. Okay. We are the only agency within St. Lucie County that it has both.
Okay.
And what is accreditation? Well, accreditation means you have the policies that are best practices in law enforcement, and an outside agency, CALEA, the Commission of Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, comes in. They send assessors from different agencies throughout the United States to come in, look at our policies, and then we have to provide them proofs that we are following those policies. We have been nationally accredited since 1991.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And here's a statistic I think that'll shock people. Out of 18,000 law enforcement agencies throughout the United States, only about 5%, about 800 agencies, are actually accredited nationally.
Aren't we happy we live in Port St. Lucie? Are you happy, Cliff? He's nodding his head.
I'm happy about it, but that just shows you how much improvement needs to happen in law enforcement. The real reforms nationwide, because law enforcement gets painted with a broad brush. When something happens in Minnesota, they say, well, Port St. Lucie is the same way. Or when something happens in Orlando, or if something happens in Port St. Lucie, they paint Orlando with the same brush. Every law enforcement agency is different. The one thing we need is to have the highest possible standards and achieve those standards. That should be, in my personal opinion, a mandate that comes down. Body cameras are great. That's the new cutting edge thing. I wish every law enforcement agency had them. They're very expensive to get. It's another funding issue. But having the best policies and procedures, I don't really believe costs a lot of money to do. Okay, it's adopting them, it's getting them in writing, it's making sure your people are trained in them and they follow them. We're one of 158 of those 18,000 agencies that is actually accredited with excellence. So I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of the work that we're doing. When you talk about the police reform, I don't know if you ever heard of the hashtag 8 Can't Wait. 8 Can't Wait was a big push for police reform. It was ban of chokeholds, require de-escalation, require a warning before any type of shooting. There was 8 different things on there. I'm proud to say Port St. Lucie never waited. We never waited for that because we've been accredited and we've had those things. When I see law enforcement agencies sit there and celebrate, well, we've banned chokeholds, which is good. But where you been the last 10 years?
Hello.
Okay, so, and I'm not, look, it's a tough job.
It's a tough job.
And I'm not criticizing. It's just we have to change the way we're doing business. For a long time, law enforcement agencies throughout the country have always dictated to the community how they were going to police them. We think burglaries are important things. We need to engage our communities like we do with surveys, through social media right now, like the question we're asking right here. Find out from people, how do they want to be policed and provide that service to them? Because I could say we're the safest city in Florida all I want. if you don't feel safe living in this community,
You're not
it really
good.
doesn't mean
it
anything.
doesn't mean anything.
So
hogwash.
I just wanted to talk about those standards real quick before we opened it up.
Yeah. Well, that that is something that is, and I have police friends, and this is what I when I have different conversations, especially about this privately, I say, someone said, I want my son and I want my husband to come home. I said, well, they want their husband, they want their wife to come home.
Absolutely.
They want their girlfriend to come home. So everyone wants to come home. So it's meeting, there's a middle you have to meet in.
Absolutely.
And what happens in larger cities might not have to work here, because our police department, and I know you'll agree, we've worked. I've been to different things where the police department has come. We even hosted. Remember myself and Tanya Lowe with Tanya Lowe State Farm, on a racism conversation. And I remember when I called your chief of police, John, Mr. Boldig, he jumped at the opportunity. We had Mayor Orvac there, and the community came out. We had it on our church at Treasure Coast Church of God, Seventh Day on Savona Boulevard, and people came out and they joined the conversation, and they were eager to ask questions, get answers, see what was being done. And I think that's something that a lot of communities, they need to replicate, because that, you said it the best way. Open conversation is the best thing. And I'm glad you said it. I'm glad that I'm living in a county where I have a great police department, and it's a good thing. And knowing, I remember, I'm gonna go off topic. I had a mother pull up at CareBag on one of our days that we were open, and she had an infant, and the infant had no seat. So an infant is anyone under 2 months old for me. And I text Richard right away, and I said, I got a problem. And I can't remember the officer's name. His card
Boatland.
is, thank you. Yep. And he came, and he bought two. And by the time he left, I didn't think he got where he was going. I had another mother. And he not only came back, he gave us information. And that's community. That it wasn't about, he didn't come to arrest the mom. He didn't come to give her a ticket. He came just to help that we can get her a car seat and her baby can be safe. And that's community.
Absolutely.
And he drove all the way over to us, and he was happy to do so and learn about us. And I wanted to just put that out there, because we don't hear enough of what police officers do. And we hear the crime, anytime something goes wrong, we just media, we just hound on it, we just keep going on it, but we don't hear the good stories. We don't hear the stories of them going out of their way, and I think that's important for all of your men and women.
Absolutely. And there's 800,000 law enforcement officers nationwide. And we tend to focus on some of the negative things that have happened, and they're bad. And I'm not going to hide from that. These sometimes they're mistakes
Deplorable.
that happen, and it's bad. But there are also millions of contacts each and every day that are positive. And officers, if I ask any officer that we're interviewing, myself included, when I got hired, why do you want to be a police officer? First thing they say is, I want to help people. And we see a lot of unfortunate negative interactions sometimes. We get a little bit jaded, we get a little bit disgruntled, and I always tell our officers, the most important decision we make each and every day is our attitude. Unfortunately, sometimes we let other people affect our attitude in a negative way, and that can come across, unfortunately, to other people.
Yes.
A person like yourself, law-abiding citizen, may never come in contact with a Port St. Lucie police officer, but that one time you do, that one officer you come into contact with, that is going to be your perception of the entire agency.
It sets your tone.
So that's why we're real big on customer service. And again, we're not perfect. Although we have these great standards, we're a low crime rate, we make mistakes each and every single day. We have a very forgiving community that if you own up to your mistakes, you own them, learn from them, move on. They do forgive us for those things, and we try to get better. We're not out here to hurt anybody. We really want to help people, do the best job we can, but it is a tough job. We deal with a lot of tough circumstances. I'm very proud of the men and women at the Port St. Lucie Police Department. I'm proud of this community for the support that they give us. So it's really a great partnership that we have. Okay. So very blessed.
Well, thank you. So we have a couple minutes, but everyone gets these questions. You already answered the first one. We have a couple minutes. So what advice would you give someone wanting to enter into the police department?
What advice would I give them? I would say, when I meet them, the one thing we do is we do a very comprehensive background investigation that all agencies do. But we take it a little bit different. We're really looking at an officer and if they have the core values that we're looking for. And I make sure that they understand what our expectations are. and what our expectations are from this community. This community in Port St. Lucie wants a very high level of customer service. And when I first started using that word customer service, people used to cringe. Oh, we're not Walmart. We're not greeters, things like that. And it's like, no, we're out here to provide a service. We're getting paid for a service, and they want And I'm proud to provide that high level of service. And we have competition, okay, other law enforcement agencies and other services. So I tell them, I give them the expectations, what we're looking for, because this is going to be a 30-year marriage, hopefully. And we want to make sure that everybody's happy on both ends. They don't get here and go, oh, I didn't know, customer service was important, or I didn't know I had to do this. We lay it out there. We go through about 8 interviews before someone actually gets hired, because after about 8 interviews, you get to know somebody pretty well.
Well, so. I'm laughing that you said Walmart, because I go to the Port St. Lucie Police Department for different things, and you usually have 2 ladies sitting in the front with yellow shirts on. Just to let you know, if anyone hasn't been to the Port St. Lucie Police Department, you feel like you go into Walmart with their greeters.
Yes, our volunteers.
Because they put you through the ringer before you get to the desk to pick up the phone. Who you want to see? What you doing? Why you're here? What's your name? And it's funny. So.
Well, we have over 200 volunteers. Let me give them a shout out. We have over 200 volunteers in the police department to do different things, from courier services to greeters at the front. They save our taxpayers probably close to $300,000 a year with the services they provide.
Kudos to our volunteers.
Absolutely.
Well, I have volunteers, Janice, Kelsey, and Sandra, and I don't know what we will do without them. Volunteers are very important. So can't go through all the questions, but what led you to be a police officer?
So I grew up in a police family.
Okay.
My father is a retired police officer. My uncle is a retired police officer. I have a cousin that's a retired police officer. I have 2 cousins that are Maryland state troopers.
Okay.
Growing up, my father used to make me, back then, polishing your boots was big, having the shine. I used to polish my dad's boots. But my dad was a big guy, about 235, 240 pounds, muscles. And when he wore the uniform, he
stood out.
He took a lot of pride in being a police officer. And I always wanted that sense of pride. And when I had the opportunity to come down here and get on the police force, I just knew I was kind of following in Dad's footsteps. And he's the greatest mentor I've ever had, and continues to be. Gives me great advice. And nobody loves you more than your parents.
That's true.
Of course, when I say that to my daughters, they say, "Well, God does," and so I'm like, "Okay, I'm not going to argue with that."
Well, one thing you took from your dad, because I always joke with you when I see you, your shoes are always shiny.
My shoes are always shiny.
Shoes are always shiny. So I know we have just a couple minutes left. So we started this year off picking a word instead of a resolution. If you had to pick a word instead of a resolution that you wanted to carry through the rest of the year, what would that word be?
That's a good question.
Of course. You're on Careology.
Again, I'm going to go back to attitude. I think attitude is everything, especially what we've been through in the last year. It's very easy to get down. I'm not immune to getting frustrated, and people see me on Facebook. I'm always happy and doing different things, but I have my down moments as well, and I just got to remember that attitude's a choice.
We haven't had attitude yet, have we, Cliff?
No, but we were starting with the alphabet at one point.
Attitude. But I like attitude. I have many. I have 6, 7, 8.
But you know what? I've always been a social person. I didn't excel in school grade-wise, but I always got perfect attendance. I never call out sick at work. I get out of bed, and when I jump out of bed, I'm so excited to go to work.
All right.
If my wife knew how much fun I had when I went to work, I got to come in and act like I had a hard day. But
I hope she's listening.
She told me I had a face for radio, so it was a good thing tonight. But no, it's and just give her a quick shout out. We've been married 24 years this year, and I couldn't be around.
I know her, and she is a beautiful, beautiful woman inside and out, and she has a smile that just radiates. Well, we got a minute left. Richard, thank you for having us. Thank you for being here on the show. We learned a lot. I hope the community learned a lot. This is Roxy with Careology every Tuesday at 6:05. Support our agency, our police department, support our nonprofits. If you want to learn any more about CareBag, just go to givecarebag.com and learn all about us. We're going to see you next week. You can watch us on our Facebook page. You can get us on YouTube on WPSL 1590. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate you. And Assistant Chief Richard Del Toro, thank you. It was a pleasure.
I just want to give a shout out to my niece. She turned 18 today. Happy birthday, Mia. We love you.
Happy birthday, Mia. Woo! And everybody, have a great evening. Love you. See you next week, Cliff. Appreciate you.
All right.
Have a good night, everyone. God bless and stay safe.
The Science of Caring, Careology with Roxy, Tuesday nights at 6 o'clock hour on WPSL Port St. Lucie.